When I was small, I had a secret pastime. I would seek out one moment in the day when I would avoid, with surprising skill, the watchful adult world. I would fix my eyes on some near or distant object. I would then decide on a personal transformation and choose to become a bird. And there was the sea that I crossed in my flight. If you should see me by the shore, just leave me on my own by tumbling wave, and note no more my form of shining tone. For out of time is all now set, thought enshrined in light, a deep content is fully met. Detachment scales a height. The deep contentment of a contented ghost.
Of all the wonders that the world had to offer, only art promised immortality. The profound words of Sergei Pavlovich Diaghilev, madam.
Arnold Haskell.
Headmaster and ballet-tomain.
Oh, Diaghilev.
Founder of the Ballet Russe, under whose capacious wing a young Irish ballerina thrived and flourished to become Dame Ninette de Valois, and to create your own immortality.
Are you a ghost too, Arnold?
No. Sadly, yes. May I?
When you began to grow old, did you always think deeply of your youth?
Oh, with every passing day, my dear.
Good. An old person without memories is a wasted life, and nothing is worth remembering but our childhood.
In the process of growing up, children soon cease to be themselves, for they are an atom that the world soon splits asunder.
This symmetry that seeks a proud return draws back in froth. Soft flowing disarray retreats within itself to curve again in arched control with fringe of flecking foam. This beach of shining gold complacent lies, till breaking wave with high-flung tears that sting dispels with callous air that calm content.
How often you told me of that intense focus of yours, even from the age of 8.
And what magic in the loveliness upturned, a myriad curved openings, rainbow-hued, as sings the sea and croons the wind. A sharp delight is mine, as the crackling shells escaped and tumbled through my fingers, hard pressed to my slender form.
The child mind seeks no perception, even blessed as it is to the point of pain.
Yet wildly happy. The world I knew is blotted out. There is just myself, fiercely alone. Alone with God.
All secrets known and nothing said.
But along that shore, I know a storm will come and roughly fall upon the chanting shells. One shell I press to my ear tells, I may not know such happiness again. It must have been an anguished sea that flung me up on the summit of its waters, like a mountaintop, chilled white and wearing a nun's serenity. First love seeks no summer peak. Its innocence is evergreen, just in the mind a tranquil thought that senses time has ever been. First love in its hinterland holds the breath of quietness, knows the feeling that is spent, still bestows its fruitfulness. Stilled moment in a heart of innocence.
In that, well, quiet Irish country existence of yours, you must have been cut off from all communal interest.
Well, that is why the mind of a child holds on to specific thoughts and memories. The long avenue of Balti Boy's house, the wooded grounds sloping down to the River Liffey, winding its way through the fields beyond the gardens. And later, in Cambridge, the rich Irish voice of W.B. Yeats, commanding that I should return to Ireland at his impressive bidding. He often obeyed the promptings of those Celtic voices in his head, and I was to obey this command. Between us, he said, the dramatic poetry of Ireland would live again. He enthused me greatly, inspired my own Celtic voices, and my own humble homage. I found myself at the top of a hill where, with a peat is sliced as a sticky brown cake and steams in the trench of a warm earth that breeds the greenest of green. When the hills display their haphazard curves, the wild one claims his suspicion, as backed by his shrewd yet panicky mood, he continues to raise his keen.
He covets the earth, aye, he covets the earth.
As he stalks his way through the time-worn climes, and the sticky peat sucks at his feet, comes fear that the turf of the good green earth hoards food for the Garden of Eden. They claim him to be a real Holy One. In Ireland, things go to the head. As many a mystical caper of mind has been thought to be wrought by the Lord's little people, so he cries to the sky as the winds scurry by, hustled by scurrying clouds.
In the name of saints, isn't heaven enough?
Yet all he could feel was celestial rebuff. All he could say with his foresight at bay,
he covets the earth, aye, he covets the earth.
The landscape is illuminated by remembered visits to cottagers living on the estate. Some of the old women were like witches, and many a story did my imagination weave around them in such a guise. We would bring them small gifts and stand by in awe as our governess made conversation with the owners of these deeply furrowed faces. A knotted hand might be holding a clay pipe as their bare feet rested on the hearth, their faces sharply outlined by the large black shawls covering their faces and most of their bodies. It always made me sad. Whilst still a child, I had to tear out my heart and leave it on the nursery windowsill. I remember nothing of the journey to London. Ireland was already fading.
But what a contrast 2 decades on, Ninette.
A county Wicklow girl, tamed by English hockey and an east wind.
Which blew you to the 4 corners of Europe and beyond. With Russian emigre dance, there would be vodka and caviar and Russian jokes.
And Russian songs and Russian toasts.
Until the break of day.
Oh, and then would come the moment for those to depart who did not want to be present at that crazy dawn, when one would have to witness a broken friendship or two. Better to leave. To their credit, they thought far less of you if you stayed on and remained sober. To remain sober was mere vulgar curiosity. Hesitant day thins the light, reluctant to spread its clarity. Their private parties always left me just as sad.
Yes, but beyond Ballet-Roos, you brought new life to the Abbey Theatre. You conquered London and New York.
Thanks to your guidance of our Sadler's Wells Company and your wonderful directorship of the ballet school.
Despite a few dissenting voices from the pupils. But what an alumni! Moira Shearer.
Kenneth Macmillan, Michael Soames, Little Beryl Grey.
And then your Turkish delight.
My Arabian Nights Tale in Istanbul. Their self-conscious presentation of a myriad red roses, but their national ballet now a reality.
And then Prague, Vienna, Warsaw.
And great Canada from Atlantic to Pacific. Sunset skies like a great round bowl in the middle of limitless prairie. And within the American picture frame, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and sweetheart Shirley Temple.
Didn't those years fly by? Do you remember our first peacetime Christmas?
The winter itself was bitter. And I do not like you, winter. With time's distortion now displayed in shivering twigs that hang unabashed at their children's loss of clothes. I do not like you, winter, not even when you're dressed white to humanize, with a seduction worthy of a bride. But hidden secrets of the earth and sky, in partnership with spring, patiently conspire against you. I do not like you, winter.
But you love public houses. You love to overhear the local banter. More rich music to your well-attuned ears.
The old one enters and orders her drink. I'm alone, she says, here and elsewhere. But pubs are not lonely, and you don't have to think. And the music they play is muffled and slow. An old person's life stands still at the end. That's something the tunes seem to know. She loved pubs, had always done so. They are quiet and solid. There's peace in the mind, with everything moving just to and fro. And I do the same.
The background music in the saloon bar offers no intrusion. A rocking chair soothing the mind.
Between slow gulps of red wine, my fingers play on the glass. A song becomes sad. There are words that pluck at the nerves of the mind's blotting pad. Broken jigsaw, your shapes do not tally, so memory beats a retreat. There's a sudden intrusion, The melody's whimsical moan breeds confusion. Now, everyone stirs and makes note of the time. I'll soon be alone with this glass of red wine. There is sympathy about. From the bar side comes a query that bestows rough-edged companionship.
What price Arsenal next year, mate?
Attention is now alerted, shared by bottles tilted to serve their meticulous measure. The ensuing pause highlights the pitch of his voice.
I haven't the faintest idea.
Sentence completed. There's no more to say. A final gulp of time, please. Chime of time sees pavements reach the disarrayed ejection as quaysides accept the catch of netted sprats.
Aha! Our marriage has been arranged, announced the Times. Not yours, my dear. Our moon...
Dance the classics well and everything is possible, you told me.
Well, I was right. And then 10 years later, Dublin claimed you yet again.
1955. The eve of our 10th anniversary tour. The end of rationing, the Dublin streets and pavements shining with the soft, relentless rain. And that grey mid-century December drew me back to Balti Boys. The house now had a touch of lonely splendor. Gone was the sheltering avenue of my childhood days. Gone was the lodge and the old bridge, consumed by the swollen rivers, King and Liffey, dammed above Pulafuka to satiate the hydroelectric god. Gone are the fields and the parks under a gigantic lake, and the lonely, unloved house now dominates a wilder, colder beauty. In the foot of those Wicklow hills lies the midnight of my life.
And now you have an air serene, apart the sleeping shadows, dim nightlight of your dreams, content and stilled in tranquil timelessness.
Tranquil is the search for thoughts that are shadows, a fragment of life, afloat on the curve of its mortality, to be abreast with the thrust of time now comes and goes. The aged are placed on shelves.
You still have an air serene, apart, and the moonlight silvers your bed, dim nightlight of your dreams.
A dim nightlight weeping, wax-frail biscuit china.
Content and stilled in tranquil timelessness.
by the shore. Just leave me on my own. No more my heart can grief contain, since lost is earthly tie. And memory now feels no pain for senses born to die. So should you feel my presence near, stand still and ponder on the needless thrust of fearful fear, and I will wander on. Of life now seems remote amidst its own arrest. Just fade away those wisps of mind that have followed their fate in the hollows of life. Gather them up and bury them whole within the gloom of night. There is this river that all must cross, with a life-force tide where flickers time, to the chant of sphere and the dance of stars.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a 20-minute interval where refreshments